Is Riyad Mahrez good enough to make it at Pep Guardiola's Manchester City? Hello and welcome to the What If League. Today's episode is another What If transfer experiment, and we are trying out what would happen if actually Manchester City managed to secure Riyad Mahrez in the January transfer window. As you can see on the screen, I have moved Riyad Mahrez to Manchester City for £60 million. This was a sum that was circulated by the media, and apparently it was something that the Manchester City board was not willing to pay. Instead, they were willing to go for 50 million and some players, but the Leicester board did not agree to that. So I decided to meet the two clubs in the middle and actually move him for £60 million cash. You can see also that Riyad Mahrez is pleased to have joined Manchester City, which is not a big surprise. Manchester City, of course, are a bigger club than Leicester, so it's of no surprise that he is enjoying that transfer. He has not yet formed any dynamics or relationships with his new teammates, which I imagine is going to happen in the next seasons. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm going to fast forward until the end of this season, so this would be the 2nd of June 2018, to see how did Mahrez fit in his new team. Now it's the 2nd of June and the seasons in the European leagues have ended. Let's have a quick look. Manchester City are expectedly champions in England with 97 points, 11 more than second placed Manchester United. At the bottom of the table we see that Huddersfield, Newcastle and Swansea got relegated. They did not manage to secure survival. Stoke and Crystal Palace, on the other hand, were the last two teams that are going to remain in the Premier League for the next season. Before I move to Riyad Mahrez and Manchester City in particular, let's have a quick look at the player overview. We can see that the top goal scorer is Roberto Firmino. We have N'Golo Kante with the most key passes. Alexis Sanchez has made the most assists. Eden Hazard the most dribbles. Kante has covered the most distance per 90 minutes, and he also made the most tackles per match. The most key tackles were made by Toby Alderweireld, while Petr Cech kept the most shutouts, and Simon Mignolet conceded the least goals. So those are the player awards. Now I don't see Mahrez's name anywhere here, so we'll have to go and have a quick look at the Manchester City squad to see how did he fit in. On the Manchester City overview page we see that Sergio Aguero is their key player, which is not a big surprise. I didn't expect Mahrez to actually replace him there. And going to the tactics screen, he is not in their starter squad, he is in the substitutes. They're playing 4-3-1 with a defensive midfielder and two wingers, Leroy Sané and Bernardo Silva. Now let's have a quick look at Mahrez himself. In his career stats, he has played 8 Premier League games, 3 of which he was substituted. He came in as a substitute, he scored 1 goal, managed to also make 2 assists, which is not bad. His average rating is 7.38, but this is to be expected of a winning team. Manchester City were champions with 97 points, which means that they dominated most of their games. And as you have probably noticed, if you are part of a winning team, you usually get higher ratings. He also played in 3 Champions League games. He came in as a substitute. He did not perform that well there. He was with an average rating of 6.65. So nothing too impressive. Let's have a quick look at the dynamic screen here. I'm interested to see. He feels David Silva is a vital part of the team. He has not yet managed to create any relationships with any of his new teammates. Let's also have a quick look at the Manchester City schedule to see how did they perform in the Champions League and in the cup competitions in England. So we are here, FA Cup 3rd round, 4th round, then they won against Sheffield United. In the Champions League, they managed to eliminate Borussia Dortmund. Then they went through Hull City in the FA 6th round. They met Manchester United in the Champions League quarter-final, and they lost that fixture. They drew 1-1 at Old Trafford, but lost at the Etihad 1-3. In the FA Cup, they lost to Manchester United in the semi-final as well, so they, in the end, they only got 1 trophy, which was the Premier League, which is the biggest trophy, I think the most difficult for them to achieve. But in this situation, this experiment started in the end of January, when Manchester United already had a very significant lead in the league. So, Riyad Mahrez did not really make a huge impact in his first season at the Etihad under Pep Guardiola's tutelage, but now I'm going to fast forward three more years into the future and see how is he going to get on with his new teammates and if he's going to fit any better in the next 3 seasons. Here we are at the 2nd of June 2021, and first of all, let's have a quick look at the Premier League. As we already saw, Manchester City were champions the first season. Let's go to the next year. Manchester United dethroned them and they finished champions with 90 points at the top, just 8 points above Chelsea and Manchester City. And I'm saying just, not really objectively. We see that the relegated teams were Norwich, Sunderland and Derby County. So the Red Devils managed to get the title with Jose Mourinho, I imagine. Let's have a quick look. Yes, indeed, Jose Mourinho is their player here. Then the next season, Manchester City won the title back with 90 points, 3 more than Arsenal and Manchester United. I think here we can say just 3 points instead of the 8 that I mentioned previously. Everton, Sheffield Wednesday and Aston Villa were the relegated teams. And in the last season of this current experiment, Manchester City are champions again, this time with 90 points, 8 more than Chelsea. And we see that Liverpool and Manchester United make up the top 4. Wolverhampton, Brighton and Sunderland were the relegated teams that year. Quickly going to the player overview, just to have a look if we are going to see Riyad Mahrez's name somewhere in here. I really don't see it, and I'm going to now check out the Manchester City squad to see some more details about what is happening with our subject of this experiment. Going to the Manchester City overview page, we now see that Carlo Ancelotti is their head coach, which means that Pep Guardiola has been replaced, and we also see that Kevin De Bruyne is the key player with captain Bernardo Silva. So a lot of interesting developments here. Jan Oblak is also their vice captain, so they bought him from Atletico. Pep Guardiola was sacked after almost 3 years at the helm of the Citizens. Apparently the fact that he did not win the league in the second season here, it was an unforgivable offense. So let me just quickly go back and have a look. What place did they finish that year and why was it such a big deal? They were third, 8 points behind Manchester United, so that was not that bad, at least in my opinion. But apparently Sheikh Mansour thought otherwise. In the tactics screen, we see that there are some new faces here. We see Callum Wilson has been brought to Manchester City. Now, this is very surprising to me. I would not have expected Callum Wilson to make it to Manchester City, but you never know. We also have Luan, we have Julian Brandt who have joined. Ricardo Rodriguez as well has been brought here. Jan Oblak, as I already mentioned. So a lot of transfers have been made in the meantime, which is not really surprising. Now, let's see what is happening with Riyad Mahrez. Riyad Mahrez is now in the under-23 squad, so he's not really having a good time. Let's see if his dynamic screen will tell us something more. He's expecting to leave the club in the near future, angry to have missed out on the Algeria tournament squad after helping team qualify. So apparently he's not really playing in the first team of Manchester City, and that has cost him his international place. So looking at his career stats, we see that the first season he had the highest average rating of his career at the Etihad. Second season he played a lot of games. He actually played 25 games in the league, scoring 3 goals, making 3 assists. He also played 1 cup game and 2 substitute appearances in the Champions League, but that was not really something to brag about and to secure his place at this squad. His average rating dropped significantly to 7.04. And then in the next year he only managed to record 1 league game, and that was a substitute appearance. He did score in that game, but apparently it was not enough to secure more appearances. So very frustrating career for Riyad Mahrez at the Etihad, and I'm sure that this move is probably in his dreams in terms of prestige and reputation, and not the least to say the financial outcome that he's going to see after such a move to such a big club. But football wise and career wise for him, it's probably not the best decision if we think that Football Manager 2018 simulations are anything to judge by. Now, I also want to see the domestic competitions, what happened in the FA Cup, League Cup, and then in the European competitions. So in the FA Cup, we see that Manchester United won the first one, Then Watford, Tottenham, and in the last year Manchester City were victorious in the oldest football competition in the world. Manchester City beat Chelsea in this final. Now let's also see what is happening in the League Cup and who is winning that competition. So League Cup, we see that the current defending champions are Watford. The previous years Tottenham won the first two League Cups in this experiment. Afterwards Chelsea won the title in 2019-20, and the last trophy was actually won by Watford after defeating Manchester United in the final on after extra time. This is very interesting turn of events. Let me just quickly have a look. Slaven Bilic is now at the helm of Watford. Troy Deeney is their captain. Abdoulaye Doucouré is their key player and vice captain. So let's have a look. They finished 11th in the Premier League. Nothing too surprising. It's a good performance by any standards. I'm sure that you would all appreciate it. So good for Watford. Before moving to the European competitions, I want to quickly have a look at the top 5 leagues in Europe and who won those competitions. So in the first season in Spain, Barcelona were champions, 7 points above Real Madrid. Then the next year Real Madrid took the title, only 1 point above Atletico Madrid and Barcelona. So this was a very interesting year and a very interesting competition to watch probably. In the third season, Atletico Madrid were very effective, and they were crowned champions with 100 points, 11 more than Barcelona. And in the last year, Barcelona are champions again, 99 points, 3 more than Real Madrid. In Italy, champions in the first year were Juventus with 93 points, which was 16 more than their chasers Roma in second place. Second season, Juventus champions again, this time with 92, 11 points more than second placed Inter. In the third season, Juventus managed to defeat to defend this title as well with 102 points, 15 more than second place Napoli, so they're getting better and better. And in the last season, who else but Juventus, our champions, with 93 points at the top, which was 12 more than second placed Inter. Moving to the French league, the first season was won by Monaco, so this is interesting because Monaco were not in the best place in the beginning of the season. They weren't actually at the top, and we see that they managed to overcome Paris Saint-Germain and became champions with 11 points more. Now in the next season, Paris Saint-Germain were champions with 89 points, 7 more than Monaco. Then the third year, Paris Saint-Germain were champions again, 98 points, 6 more than Monaco. In the last season, PSG again were victorious, 103 points, 2 more than second place Monaco. And the last national competition that I'm going to have a look is the German Bundesliga. You see that the first year Bayern Munich were champions with 82 points, which was 13 more than second place Red Bull Leipzig. Next year Bayern Munich were champions again, 4 points more than Dortmund with 81 for Bayern and 77 for Borussia. In the third year, Bayer Leverkusen managed to overthrow Bayern Munich at the top with only on goal difference and actually only just 1 goal more. So this was a very interesting and competitive season. 75 points for both teams, but 1 goal better goal difference for the Bayer team. And in the last year, Leverkusen were champions again, this time 79 points, 6 more than Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund, who were second and third respectively. Moving to the European competitions and the Europa League, the first season Arsenal were champions of the Europa League after defeating Red Bull Leipzig 4-0 in the final, so very strong victory for the Gunners in the final there. They managed to get to that trophy but after defeating Besiktas in the semis, Zenit St. Petersburg in the quarters and the Italian Milan in the second knockout round. In the next season, Bayern Munich were champions of the Europa League after defeating Roma 1-0 in the final. Bayern Munich qualified for that game after defeating Tottenham on away goals, not Sevilla, but Athletic Bilbao in the quarterfinal, and the French Olympique Marseille with a crushing 5-0 on aggregate. In the third year, Sevilla were champions of the Europa League. This is something that is now, I think, natural for them. 1-0 against Roma in the final. Sevilla qualified after defeating Tottenham in the semis, Ajax in the quarterfinals, and the Spanish compatriots Valencia in the second knockout round. And in the last season, Atletico Madrid were victorious in the second most important European competition after defeating Arsenal in the final 2-0. Atletico qualified after also defeating Tottenham, Dynamo Kiev, and Saint Etienne. Now let's have a look at the most prestigious European competition, the Champions League. First year Chelsea were champions after defeating Atletico Madrid on penalties in the final. Chelsea also managed to eliminate Manchester United in the semi-final, Juventus in the quarters and Monaco in the first knockout round. Next year Real Madrid reclaimed the European title after defeating Atletico Madrid, their compatriots and actually city neighbors Atletico, 2-1 after extra time. Real Madrid also eliminated Borussia Dortmund, the Porto team and Liverpool in the first knockout round. Next year Manchester City won the Manchester final, so this was a very interesting all English, all Manchester final there. So the previous year we saw all Madrid final, now we have all Manchester final. Manchester City won after extra time 1-0. They qualified for that game after defeating Napoli on penalties in the semi-final, Bayern Munich in the quarter-final and Monaco in the first knockout round. And in the last season of this experiment we see that Barcelona won 1-0 against Napoli in the final. Barcelona qualified after defeating Manchester City in the semis, Juventus in the quarterfinals and the Turkish Beşiktaş in the first knockout round. With that, I think this can complete the experiment. I'm not really thinking of extending the experiment for further 3 years, since Riyad Mahrez is about to leave Manchester City and apparently he's not going to have the best of careers at the Etihad. So for me, this would be a bad move, at least in the Football Manager 18 football simulation game. With that, guys, I just want to remind you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. That way you're going to receive notifications for when I upload new videos. In the meantime, if you want, you can also check out my social media. Links will be provided down in the description below. Let me know what do you think about this experiment and what would you like to see next. I would love to hear from you in the comments. With that, I want to thank you once again for watching. Until the next time, bye!